Ariana The Techie. I've been in tech for 15 years, since I was 15 years old, and I've built 3 different tech companies. Okay, so the 5 ways that I believe that pastors and ministers of the gospel can use AI are: 1, through sermon translation; 2, sermon structure; 3, meal prepping; 4, sermon notes; and 5 is something I call setting the environment. And so the first one regarding sermon translation, like, people from all over the world are listening to your content, right? Like, whether you're a big church or a small church. And so the more you translate your videos and your content, the easier and the more the message of the gospel will spread. So this is like literally common sense, like something that we all should be using it for. A lot of you have podcasts, YouTube videos, all this stuff. Like, you need to be translating it in different languages so people from all over the world can hear it. And there are tons of tools that do this online. The second one is sermon structure. So I have like my own personal opinion where I really feel like, certain ideas and concepts and sermons should really just come from your intimacy with the Holy Spirit, and with spending time with God. I think it can become a thin line where you depend on technology too much, especially when you're talking about stewarding souls. For those of you who are pastors and ministers, again, I'm just a tech expert. I'm not a pastor and minister. But I do believe AI can help you with the sermon structure, right? So, getting ideas and ways that you can speak structurally, right? Or, getting more context can kind of help you, and AI can help you with that. So you can structure your sermon in a certain way that maybe based on psychology, like, people will listen to you better, or, crack a joke here or whatever. So I think sermon structuring is something that is really unique that can be used for you if you're a minister or pastor. The third one is meal prepping. I know a lot of you who are ministers, work very, very hard every day throughout the week, but especially on Sundays. And I'm an entrepreneur, so I understand what that's like. And so meal prepping can be super helpful through AI, because you give it a budget, you give it what you want, and you say, hey, I want to do all this in less than 60 seconds. Like, it'll show you how to do that and do that easily. So meal prepping is something super practical that any one of us can honestly use. And the fourth note I have here is about sermon notes. So many people get distracted during church, and it'd be so helpful if, like, someone else was taking notes for me and I could just receive them after the church service via text or email. This is something very easily that AI can transcribe your voice, because most churches already record their pastors anyway. And so this is something that can be super helpful for your congregation. And then the last thing I have here is something called setting the environment. And so setting the environment is really good, because basically if you give the AI the context of your audience, it can kind of help you, whether you're doing a presentation or a sermon or whatever. But the more details that you give it, the better it gives you better results. And so I think people forget that when they're doing their prompting with their AI tools. So these are 5 ways, if I were a pastor, a minister, a leader of an institution, that I would use.